So it's like a straight girl discovering Twilight and being like, oh my god, this is scratching some primal part of my brain. I need more of this. So I want to talk about Vi and Kate from an archetypal perspective. Now they're as kind of hinted at before, there's still structural issues with their relationship in season 2. That very effective scene, the scene, kind of controversial in terms of its timing. A lot of people have mentioned, which I also felt, that it was like the way Jinx left her, it felt like she was going to go commit suicide. Like I thought, why would she not think? Like, why would, you know what I mean? Like it was just such a weird timing. Some people have said that maybe it was because it was like they are about to go to battle. They don't know if either of them are going to survive. So it's kind of this moment of like, got to act while we can, live in the moment while we can. But it's just I still maintain that it's weird, specifically because of how Jinx left her. But the scene itself was great. I'll talk about that more in a second. But yeah, so structural issues aside, there's something very interesting about this, which is another thing that is like, haven't seen this in pop culture. But basically, I'm a member as a card carrying lesbian. I'm a member of a lot of different online groups that are related to sapphic media in general. I just lurk in them, and let me tell you, people have been going crazy over Arcane. I've seen post after post after post after post of people being like, I can't live after Arcane. I need recommendations for stuff that's similar to this relationship. And people go and they give them tons and tons of book references, and they're mostly indie things. I think the biggest thing that people give as a recommendation is Gideon the Ninth, with that, which I recommended. Doug, you mentioned that one.
Yes, Gideon the Ninth. I talk about it.
Has the same archetype. So there's a very specific romantic archetype that is specific to sapphic romance. I want to talk about this for a second because it's a fun sort of side topic, but it's about storytelling. So we're all very familiar with the straight male, straight female romantic fantasies, basically the two big ones. There are some other ones, but the big ones are, for the straight female imagination, it's the Beauty and the Beast archetype, right? We see this in just about every single romance story. You have this, very hyper masculine guy. He's also, really mature. That's why often he's like 1,000 years old, but still looks 20, and kind of aggressive, but like very protective of her. So dangerous, but not dangerous to her. But then she kind of civilizes him, I guess, makes some husband material. That's a very, very, very big straight female fantasy, and you're taking things that are like real but exaggerating them, right? Same thing for like the straight male fantasy. The big one is going to be like a fight in of competence against other men to earn the right to the woman's hand, right? And it's like, what's the real life equivalent, right? It's like, I'll give like Doug, we were talking about this in person when you're talking about like, you're like at a bar, going after a girl, and another guy comes and he's also interested. It's like you're most likely not going to like get into a fist fight or something. I mean, maybe, but most likely not. But most likely it's going to be a much more subtle form of competition. But that's
very subtle.
Very subtle, but that's the thing that is very fundamental to that experience, right? Like and so in a fantasy, the story is all exaggerated. It's like you're, these big epic battles, and whoever is the most competent at this is going to win. And so there are equivalents to that in lesbian romance, and this particular archetype that Vi and Kate embody is as fundamental as archetypal and primal. But like I said, I don't think it's ever been in pop culture before. I don't think it has. Extremely popular in like romance, lesbian romance and stuff like that. If you read,
what is it, like indie lesbian romance?
Yeah, but there are multiple ones. I'm not going to get into depth. There's multiple archetypes, but this one in particular I would describe it as like the submissive mask, submissive butch, dominant femme, and that archetype. So what that is?
Wait, submissive mask, dominant femme.
Mm-hmm.
What does mask mean? What do you mean by mask?
So that's just like it stands for masculine, femme stands for feminine. Someone has kind of masculine energy, someone has kind of feminine energy. That's kind of a more common, I was saying mask or butch. Butch is a little bit, people still use that term, but I'd say younger generations of queer people use mask as an umbrella term.
I got you. No, I totally got you.
Yeah.
I've got the word mask for my writing has had a
I know. I thought
M-A-S-K.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. And so, the way this looks in fiction, again and again and again and again and again, the way this looks is there's always going to be a power difference between them. So like one is going to be higher in society. The femme, a common example of this would be like a princess and a bodyguard. That's like a really common, like I'm literally reading a book right now that has an exact dynamic. It's a princess and a bodyguard, but it's like, she's going to be, the femme is, she's going to be powerful, but not necessarily, she might have some sort of combat abilities, but it's mostly not. Mostly she has a different kind of power. Usually social power. And she's usually
authority.
We had that in House of the Dragon.
Authority.
Sorry, I kept missing what you said, Doug.
Authority. She has some level of social authority, maybe.
She's got a lot of power, but it's the power to command usually. Whereas the masked character pretty much always is some sort of combat related person, some sort of a fighter, muscular, very competent.
Yeah, they kind of musculared her up.
Yeah, she's going to be competent, whether it's swords or fists, whatever it is. That's what she does, and she's there and there's often an element of protecting the femme character, but also submitting to, and that can look like all sorts of different things. Like if it's a social difference, then of course it's like this person literally has the power to command her, and it's like this whole dynamic of, oh, I'll do anything to whatever you want me to do, I'll do anything to protect you, to serve you. That's kind of the feeling. So of course this is like a certain kind of dynamic that can exist in there's a lot of different lesbian dynamics, but there's that's one way that like a kind of a butch femme dynamic can be. Of course, that's extremely exaggerated. It's not like what it really is in real life in the same way as those other examples are. But that is like the emotional expression of that archetype. And yeah, there's another.
So you're saying it may have been structurally so because it wasn't. It wasn't egregious. Like it's something I could complain about, but nothing I'm not gonna die on that mountain. It wasn't that big of a deal. But what you're saying, so it may have been imperfect, the setup, but you're saying, as delivered, once it was delivered, it was archetypally sound. It matched.
Yeah, what I'm saying is they touched on an archetype that really resonated with a lot of sapphic women, from what I observed. And everyone's like, "Oh, I need more of this. I need more of this." It's like it's like a straight girl discovering Twilight and being like, "Oh my God, this is scratching some primal part of my brain. I need more of this."
Interesting.
Yeah, and I really think it's like on that level. And I just think that's really cool. Well, again, there's lots of tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of media out there. I've been collecting examples of it, actually. This might be another book of mine of researching romantic archetypes.
Yeah, we talked about that when you were in town. That was a great convo, by the way.
This is the biggest example. I'll just briefly mention another one just to show, because I'm like, this isn't the only one. There's also which is actually more common, dominant butch submissive femme. You can reverse that, and that is another romantic element in lesbian romance, that it has different archetypes. But yeah, I thought that was really cool, to see that as like a cultural moment of like having that be in the mainstream. But yeah, so it was as a fan kind of engaging with that element of the show. There was a bit of a mixed thing, like all the sapphic communities I'm a part of, people were just raving. They loved it. But they were still in some of the mainstream like fandom pages, a lot of homophobia reacting to that, which was pretty shitty. I had someone comment responding to me being homophobic to me just because I was enjoying aspects of it. And so it was just interesting to note there's still like, I guess, I don't know if that's like some toxic element of the fandom, or if there's, I don't know, or just people coming in to be shitty. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting, that it's like the way people were reacting, and how it was new for some people. And but yeah, good. So I appreciate that, even though I don't think they were trying to do that. What I wanted to say was, for the for the sex scene itself, it even fit into that archetype. You know what I'm saying? Like it was the right thing to have her to have Vi go to her knees. Like that was exactly correct, what you would have for that kind of an archetype. Literally in the I'm, like I was saying, I'm reading a book right now that has the same archetype. Their first sex scene, same thing happened. Same thing. So yeah. I don't know what else.
Yeah, it probably would have been very satisfying if like you said, they took their time with this, and built this up. I mean, you could have really ran with this, and I think you could have had a mainstream wholesale acceptance. I think sometimes when you
Yeah.
rush things like that, you give the mainstream a reason to kind of pull back a little bit, you know. But it is interesting what you're saying. That's pretty fascinating. The dynamics that you're talking about, specifically.
Yeah,
I'd never heard that before. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't know that I haven't seen. This is partly why I'm fascinated, because I haven't seen anyone else identify this. I'm sure someone else has, but I just haven't seen anyone do it. And so that makes me really intrigued. I want to do a lot of research and find out more romantic archetypes with, like, I want to see what gay men have, or like if they have something different. But yeah, I've got a lot of other thoughts. This may be another project of mine at some point.
Well, if you
Get
do
back
that,
to me in
I
5
think that
years.
should be a subject of table talk. Come back for that table talk.
I would love to do. Give me some more time. No,
that-
genuinely, I want to do a table
That would
talk
be
again.
interesting.
And
Just
let's
give me
do a
some more
table
time to think
talk
about it.
on that subject. I think that's but no, I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, I think same thing that the titter pig just said, and well, maybe I lost it. So sorry. Oh no, right, yeah, right. That actually that same dynamic takes place. Excuse me.
Yes.
Straight romances too. The authoritative female and the commanding controlled male. That's why I was saying we had that in House of the Dragon with.
Oh. No, that is 100%. There's a straight
princess.
version of that too. It's just less common. Yeah. 100%. 100% exists.
We have the princess, and in that one, what is his
name,
name, sir? What is the Kingsguard knight? Somebody will say in the chat. But anyway, yeah. So we had that, like, you know, she's there. But then also, I was thinking about like maybe we should go to this movie. I remember my mother really loved this movie. Isn't that it? The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner and Winona and Whitney
out of
Houston.
all the visuals we had tonight, we have The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston.
We have The Bodyguard visual. So there you go. Now I want to check out that movie, because that's the where we go.
Yeah, one of my running theories.
That would be a fantastic topic. That would be a fantastic topic.
Yeah, one of my running theories, I'll say this and then we'll move on, is that when it comes to romance, I think it is a lot more universal, that like it's essentially like with gay romance, it's the same things that you find in straight romance, but it's just expressed a little bit differently. And sometimes it doesn't look the same at a first glance, but then it actually is. So yeah, lesbians will fantasize both about taming the beast and about competing for the right to with men and not with other women. But yeah, anyway, I'll move
with
on.
other men too. Yeah,
because that's the reality, right? That's the archetype. Like, primarily, what if a lesbian's?
No, I've actually experienced that.
Man, most likely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, is she like thinking? Are we competing?
Yeah, you were talking about that. You're like, you had a moment like that once.
Yeah.